Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel Dane Lorenzo.
Wait, what did you say?
Dane Lorenzo.
Have a good one. Mwah.
You guys better subscribe and watch my friend on his YouTube channel. He is kicking ass.
You should be extremely afraid. Thank you for bringing us collectively to this moment. It is a moment that so many have dreamed of claiming. History starts today.
The guy you work for is an evil person.
I don't work for him. My firm works for him. Are you gonna behave yourself tomorrow?
I told you I'm gonna do my job. I'm a reporter. I follow people that do not want to be followed. What about the allegations that you recruit the most vulnerable for tests that end up killing people?
Your time to go.
You're finished, Mr. Brock.
Was that a threat? You had to learn how to hide in plain sight. I'm pretty good at it. But you suck. Whoever you are.
I work at the Life Foundation, and I need your help. We found something. We call them symbiotes. Carlton Drake believes that the union between human and symbiote is the key to our evolution.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Venom.
I'm feeling really sick. I'm hearing a voice. Eddie. You're not real. You were just in my head.
I'm gonna need Mr. Drake's property back.
I don't know. Why would we do that? If you're gonna stay, you will only hurt bad people.
The way I see it, we can do whatever we want. Do we have a deal?
Are you willing to sacrifice the one thing you hold most dear? You should be extremely afraid. What the hell are you?
We are Venom.
So yeah, just seen Venom the other day, and I've been fairly eager to talk about it since. Because this movie, if you pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes, up to you, it has like a 32% critic score, but an 89% audience score. And you'll see it on CinemaScore, also has a B+ on there. So critics and regular moviegoers alike are pretty divided on it, it seems. Of course, I've seen regular fans are mixed on it too, but really this movie seems to be kind of, at least a tad polarizing right now. But I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed Venom. I had a good time with it, not really a ton of issues with it. I seen some reviews saying it's like, comparing it to Catwoman or something like that, with Halle Berry, which is just ridiculous. Now, it's not that complex. It's a little hokey, it's a little campy in certain areas for sure, but it's definitely a far better film than that. And if I'm being fully honest, besides movies like Infinity War and Logan, obviously, which are very different films, as far as Marvel movies go, and pretty much most DC movies, Venom's probably been my favorite comic book movie in a while. Again, minus Infinity War and Logan, of course. I enjoyed Venom quite a bit. Now, I know there's also been back and forth with it because of its rating. Originally, it was intended to be rated R, but of course Sony cut that down to PG-13. And I find that odd, because they say, oh, Venom's not going to be a part of the MCU, but we want to cut it down to PG-13 so he can cross over with Spider-Man. I see the contradiction there. I don't think it would have been that difficult, because, Logan and, Deadpool films have been so successful lately, despite their R rating. So if anything, they should have made Venom rated R, then maybe if they had him cross over, just make that Spider-Man movie, or whatever, PG-13. I don't think that would have been that big of an issue. But either way, PG-13, how much blood and violence there is necessarily, I don't think should necessarily affect how good the film is overall. Maybe, yeah, it's like a bonus, or it's a point for sure. But I don't think it should necessarily ruin a film, or make it a great one or not. And I still keep Venom the way he is. He still he bites people's heads off, he consumes, but they either cut away or just don't really show as much of it. I think the director, one of the producers or something, talked about how, yeah, they'll show the mouth going over the head, but they won't show him swinging the body back and forth, blood going everywhere or anything like that. But it's still happening. You see it beginning to happen a few times throughout the movie. So, that's still intact in a way, I guess. And Venom still fights like Venom. He moves like Venom. We'll talk about Tom Hardy specifically in a minute or two here. But as far as the Venom symbiote goes, I think he is about almost as perfect as he could get. Now, I don't think Spider-Man 3 is a completely terrible film. It definitely had moments. But compared to this, it's night and day in terms of how Venom is done. He looks pretty much exactly the way he should be. You guys look at the poster again there. Just his build, he's bulky. Not necessarily Hulk size, but, definitely shaped in a similar way. His classic grin is there. Just about perfect. And the tone effect they got going. Oh man, I just love it. I've been a fan of Venom for a long time. I remember as a kid watching the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, I always found Venom, darker and more interesting and stuff. And the more I found out on the whole Lethal Protector thing, I really got into him. I liked him, and my favorite overlooked Spider-Man game, Web of Shadows. I could go on and on. So I've always been a fan of Venom, and from that viewpoint, I can honestly say I think they nailed the Venom symbiote. Now, of course, there's a piece missing with the Eddie Brock and Venom story. No Spider-Man involved, and admittedly, that is kind of weird. It definitely takes a bit of an edge away from the character, maybe. I don't think it would have been that hard to make this, or to have Spider-Man involved in this. I think it would have been pretty easy to weave it in and out, and still have this other threat out there. With him eventually going for the greater good, perhaps, or whatever it is. But really, once you get past that, and I just try to separate that pretty quickly into the film, hearing about it all these months anyway, I actually think they did a decent job of still making Venom its own thing. And as far as Tom Hardy goes, people should probably be more divided on his performance or his portrayal than Venom itself. But I found Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock fairly likable throughout the movie. He does have sort of an odd personality. Sometimes he's like the outgoing bad boy type. Other times he's sort of like this, not timid, but sort of like awkward, socially and stuff like that. Which is kind of contributed to by, of course, the symbiote Venom being inside him. And there's humor in the movie. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. I'll admit. It's not a perfect film with that, but I think the Venom and Eddie Brock interplay was really, really on point in this. I really enjoyed their dynamic. I was happy to see most people seem to as well. That was a common, good point in the movie for a lot of people, as you'll you'll hear Venom's voice in Eddie's head, you know, during like the most inopportune times and stuff like that, or during like action sequences, he'll tell Eddie what to do, or what are you doing? You have to. You know, there's just almost like a self-aware factor from, you know, Venom's perspective or something like that. It's really quite fun. I enjoyed it for sure. There's also the romance with him and Michelle Williams' character, which I admit I think is a little bit underbaked, a little bit rushed, with how it goes from one point to the other. But Michelle Williams does a fine job. I don't think the relationship part of it hindered the movie at all. You also have Riz Ahmed as the main villain, Carlton, and he was pretty typical. You know, he's pretty forgettable, throwaway, but again, didn't really hinder the movie. At least not a whole lot anyway. And yeah, like I said, Venom himself was about perfect in this movie, despite it not being rated R. Like I said, he fights like Venom, he moves like Venom. I'll admit it took a little bit to get into it. It's almost an hour to when it actually really goes full out Venom, which is probably a bit of a long stretch for it, but when it does, I think the payoffs are pretty good. There's at least a handful of really notable and enjoyable Venom sequences, and I think people should be pretty pleased with that. It seems like people are picking at like every other part of the movie, but they're not talking about how good Venom himself was. And people have also complained about how Venom's perspective changes throughout the movie. You know, like how he sees the world and everything, and why he, you know, how he and Eddie eventually get on the same page. I think it was actually pretty interesting, and although, again, you don't have that Peter Parker factor, I still felt like the Venom symbiote's personality and behavior and his sort of mindset and attitude, it still felt pretty accurate to the character I know. So I feel like they did a pretty good job again of adapting around that. So I didn't really find an issue with that either. People have also pointed to you know, being sort of another CGI messy finale and stuff like that, because you have Venom and you have this. You guys seen the trailers? You know, there's other symbiotes in the movie. But once you have that, you know, sort of climax on the bridge and everything, and I thought it was a really entertaining fight, by the way. You know, CGI wasn't perfect, you know, but I'd say like 75%, 80% was perfectly fine. And if you complain about Venom CGI, but ignore the awful CGI in the Black Panther final fight, something's wrong. I thought it was a really entertaining climax, and I didn't really have an issue with that either. But yeah, so I just really enjoyed Venom, guys, honestly. Like, when I made this, I gave it about a solid B, and I may keep it there, but honestly, part of me is also tempted to put it up to a B+, A-. I did enjoy it that much. I think it deserves a lot more credit, and it is nice to see more of the regular audience sort of rallying behind it. It's doing fairly well at the box office so far, so I really hope we get a sequel, and we better, because there's well, they have like the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse clips as the second post-credit scene, but then the first post-credit scene is very important. You'll want to stay for it. I really hope it gets a sequel. I think it deserves to. So yeah, I think Venom is definitely worth seeing, and like I said, besides like Infinity War and Logan, and you know, I did enjoy Deadpool 2, but really besides Infinity War and Logan, Venom is my favorite comic book movie in quite a while. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about it. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Also, Stan Lee cameo on point as always.